Hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. With 3 days in for the year to be over, so I am sure that many of you all had a very trying and challenging year, and some of you all are continuing to undergo certain challenges. But I'm here to tell you that it is all going to come to an end. You will be very fine. All your problems will be solved. Why I'm saying that? Because if you are watching this, you are talking to an astrologer. And in the astrologers guild, if I can use that word, the members of my cohorts, we believe that the moment you're speaking to an astrologer, it's a sign that the gods have heard you and they have so-called sent a representative, which is our humble self, to have a look at your karma. Because what do astrologers actually look? We look at your birth chart, your Rasi and Lagna chart, and what does that signify? What does that illustrate to us? It's basically your karma, your past life karma, which is from the house number 5 and 9, right? Or in Tamil, we call it a Purva Punya Sthan. Purva Punyam, like a Purva Janma means from your past birth. Punyam is not just the good deeds, it also can dictate the negative things that you have to experience. So Purva Punyasthanam is held by the triangle from house number 1 to 5 to 9. So I will show you all about that. I mean, I will discuss about that in another video. Yeah, that is a huge topic by itself. But anyway, what do astrologers look at? We look at your past karma, and there will be new ones that you're going to make in this birth as well. So the moment you are speaking to an astrologer, it's like talking to a doctor, right? You only go to a doctor if you have an ailment or a disease, and you are actually exposing that to the doctor, and the means for rectifying that is on its way. Likewise, you are all going to be fine. Just hang in there. A few changes will happen in the transits of a few major planets, and you'll all be fine. Anyway, summer is back in Melbourne, Australia. So I'm wearing my t-shirt, red t-shirt on a Tuesday, which is Savai Kilame. Savai meaning the planet Mars, representing Mars. So Mars is a red planet, fiery, masculine, energetic, quick planet, right? So, I mean, I didn't plan it this way. I didn't plan to wear red. It so happened that I just realized when I turned on the webcam just now that it's actually red and very, very apt for the occasion. Anyway, the reason why I'm recording this for you all is because many of you all have asked me whether you can actually be an astrologer yourselves. The short answer is yes, every one of you can, right? If I can do it, everyone can. And there's the long answer, which is maybe, right? There are some configurations in your own birth chart that needs to be there in order for you to be an astrologer. Why? As I've mentioned that in Tamil, we call this Deviga Kali. That means, I mean, it's an improper translation, but the best I can do is it is a skill or a craft that has to be bestowed upon you by the gods or God or by a divine hand or by the universe, if you want to look at it that way. It's not like many of them ask me that I'm good in maths because you talk about degrees, minutes, seconds. So, you say things like 30 minutes plus 30 minutes is 1 degree, which is actually very correct. And they can actually tell me that they understand the the mathematical arithmetic part of it, is that good enough? That's 50%. That's half of the picture, right? You need very good math skills to be an astrologer, of course, because you are looking at proximity of planets, whether it's within 7 degrees, that means they are in close proximity and they influence each other because they send out the strings of waves between one planet to the other, or between one star, one of the 27 stars, to the other. So within 7 degrees, or between 8 degrees to 14 degrees, between 14 to 22, and beyond 22 degrees. So, and then you have to do a quick calculation in your head, and before you speak to your client. So you have to look at angles, you have to look at drishti, which is line of sight. Every planet has got a line of sight opposite to it, so it looks opposite 7 houses away. So we say drishti is 7 houses, which is a direct opposite look. The major planets have got special drishti. For example, Sunny or Saturn has got, it looks at naturally 7 houses away, like every other planet, but Sunny also looks at the 3rd house and the 10th house from its current point. So it's different for the major planets like Sunny, Jupiter, Survey. Right, I'm going to talk about that in another video, but this video I'm just going to give you all a brief look at what is required. Like I said, maths is half of it. Another part of it is you need a good speech, right? And there is some configuration in your chart that needs to be there. Something called Kendra, Sandra Kendra Sthanam, right? From Sandran, of course, meaning the moon, Chandra. And Kendra is the square or the foundation of your chart. Right? I know it's all a bit in the air right now, but I'm going to show you all my slide pack very soon, in a few seconds, in fact. And yeah, let's get underway, and let me outline if you have it in you to become an adept astrologer. See you guys then. All right, everyone, here we are at the beginning of the slide pack that I'm going to talk about. Whether you have it in you, in your birth chart, to becoming an astrologer, right? Whether you can have the capacity to be the conduit of karma. That's what I say to my clients, because I'm just introducing their own karma to them. So it has to be a very timely thing, and you have to have one hand in the pulse of the universe, if I can say in that manner. But there is one planet above all others that plays a significant role into your journey to being an astrologer. And what is that planet? Well, it's actually Mercury, the first planet in the solar system, right next to the sun, right? We know it as Mercury, of course. In Tamil is Buddhan, or I think in the North Indian regions they call it Buddha or Bud, which is fine. So I've picked up from a source externally, and this is how a desolate planet it is, right? Because being very close to the sun, and if you were to look at the South Indian chart, which we will look at, if you have your own Lagna chart or a Rasi chart, do have a look. One of the main points is because in reality, in the astronomical sense, that Mercury is next to the sun, in your chart, in the astrological sense, Mercury and the sun will either be in the same house or they will be in the next house, right? They won't be further than that. They will always be within one house to each other. So having said that, Mercury is your man for the job, right? In fact, I can't say that it's a man or a woman because, amongst other things, Mercury is genderless. It's neither male nor female, right? Because as we understand, Mercury is a young planet, being so close to the sun. It's also the smallest planet in the solar system. I mean, other than the moon, which is about the same size of it. Um, Mercury is the smallest planet, so it's like a young child. And in our eyes, in the parents' eyes, what do we normally look at? If you have a boy and a girl, or a son or an and a daughter, normally what we say is that they are both children. They are not male or female yet, because their needs, let's say they are 2 and 3 years old, their needs are roughly the same. There is no gender focus needs that's going to change now. It'll change later. So the other planets have got a male or a female gender, like Venus and Jupiter, Mars. They are all different characteristics because they are based in the stuff of legends, so to speak. So they are different in that way, but genderless for Mercury. But focusing on um, astrological reading, what are the traits of Mercury? It outlines your ability to think in a very rational, scientific manner. So I put a scientific talk at the end, but I will go through it here in order. So you need to have a very good calculation capability. Your speech is also dictated by Mercury. It represents speech. It represents book knowledge, your ability to be a reader in a very voracious sense. You may know some people who can read like 100 books in a year. They've got a very strong Mercury in their chart. Or if they do speak, maybe some other person, when they speak, everyone listens. They just keep quiet around the table or in a room. Everyone becomes silent just to hear that one person speaking. Again, very strong Buddha. So, and then of course ending with a scientific thought. So approaching every situation, not in an emotional way, but in a scientific way. Contrasting this, just to give you an opposing view, you may have heard people who say like, I feel this, I feel you should have done this, I feel that my son should have gone and studied this. For example, anyone who used the word I feel a lot, feelings, it is always tied to emotion. They are very emotional people, right? That's the moon. And yeah, even negative emotions can be attributed to survive Mars because there's anger. Every planet represents some kind of an emotion, like Sunny represents envy, jealousy, greed. I mean, if Saturn or Sunny is negatively aspected in your chart, if it's positively aspected, Sunny can give you divine thoughts. Anyway, that is another topic for another time. You need all of this to be a good astrologer, but not just the traits of Mercury. You need the placement of Mercury in your chart to be proper. And what is that? It has to be this way. This is a South Indian chart, very typical. I'm going to talk about it in another video that each of this house has got a different purpose, a different meaning. As you can see, there will be 12, right? So I've just so numbered them this way at the corners, right? So this is not house number one, normally in everyone's chart, house number one starts with your lagna. But in this case, I'm starting with your Rasi, which is the moon. So you have the moon here and 3 different options of Mercury. Now, remember, Mercury is only one planet. It can only be in one position in everyone's chart. But I'm giving you these 3 options. If moon is in house number 1, or you start the calculating of the numbering of the houses, right? If you start the numbering from here, where the moon is, so this is 1, so you have to count this house as well as number 1, 2, 3, 4. So Mercury being 4 houses away is very good to be an astrologer. Or you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is also good. 7th house, 10th house is also good. So when you do a calculating of the sequences, you have to go clockwise this way. You don't go counterclockwise. You always go clockwise. So 1, 4, 7, 10. If you can see that they are at the corners here, and they represent the pillars of your chart, as we call it in the astrological sciences. If you just imagine this, if you are looking down at a building plan from the top, from a bird's eye view, looking downward, you can see that normally the pillars or the foundation piers would be at the corners, right? And then you have your slabs, you can put a wall. So you can imagine this is a wall with 4 pillars at the side. The pillars are the one which is going to keep your walls standing upright, rigid, and not moving. So your pillars are very important. Now, I'm jumping a few planes of the astrological knowledge. So these 2 is Mercury's own houses. I'm going to talk about the placement of houses, right, in another video at another time. But okay, let me start at the middle here. This is the natural house of Sandran, or the moon. This is the natural house of the sun, Suryan. So Suryan and Sandran are here. And then you have Mercury, which is right next to them. And then you've got Shukran or Venus right next to these. So you've got 2 of Venus, you've got 2 of Mars, 2 of Jupiter, and 2 of Saturn. So every other planet here has got 2 houses. They own 2 houses, except for the middle here, the moon and the sun. So why I love using the South Indian chart system is because it kind of looks like how a typical solar system looks in our space, right? So the luminary planets, sun and moon, are here. Every other planet is going further away, so to speak. So this is Mercury's own house. Mercury loves being here. This is a very strong house for Mercury. It's also strong for Mercury here, as long as it's 7 houses from the moon. This house is the Mula Trikona for Mercury. Every house has got 30 degrees, so this is right in the middle, somewhat at 15 to 20 degrees. Right in the middle here, Mercury, if Mercury at the time of your birth is somewhere in this angle, it experiences something called the Mula Trikona, meaning that it's kind of like better, it gives you a higher strength, a better rating. So this is its own house as well, but it loves this one more than that. I mean, it does its job well over here, but it prefers this. So we call this the exaltation point. So naturally, if this is exalted for Mercury, if Mercury is placed here with the moon, Mercury sort of gets into the opposite end of exaltation, which is debilitation. So it loses its power. Here it is the highest power, exalted. Lowest power is here. So always, always, every planet has got this 7 houses away. It just loses its strength. So if you have this kind of configuration, Mercury 4 houses away from the moon, 7 houses away, or 10 houses away from the moon, it is a very good sign that all of this, let me go back a slide, all of this naturally happens for you. You are born with the skills to be an astrologer, but that's just half the story. Mercury is just one half of the story. And I did mention very lightly about the square, or called Kendra. Kendram in the Sanskrit language is known as a square. So if you look at this 1, 4, 7, 10, like I've mentioned, they are the corners or the pillars. So you can see naturally there is a formation of a square, which I've highlighted in the purple. I'm giving you all another example. What if your moon at the time of your birth happens to be here in another corner? So you count 4 houses away, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can have Mercury here. It's the same effect as this, right? 7 is here, 10 is here, and again, you can see the Kendra, something like this. It is not a very pleasantly looking square, but in the astrological sense, this is a square. It is a perfect Kendra for the planets. They understand what is happening. You and I have just represented them with this 12 houses, but of course in the open air, in space, there are no 12 houses, there are no borders and lines like this. It's just open space, but for the clarity of the angles, degrees, minutes, seconds, we have the South Indian system is based this way, which is fairly accurate. Now, Mercury is one part of the story, and the Mercury story has to do with the moon, right? So this is your Rasi. The other part of the story is your Lagna. This is your actual first house. What is your Lagna? Well, I've mentioned in the other videos, Lagna is on the day of your birth. What was the first nakshatra or star? What was the first star that was rising with the sun in the eastern horizon? We know the sun rises in the east, right? And during the time of the rising of the sun, what was out of the 27 stars that I've mentioned? Out of the 27, what star is rising right after sunset? Right after sunrise. That star, 27 of them are placed neatly in this 12 houses, right? As I've mentioned in my other videos. So your Lagna will be easily calculated nowadays with software. We've got astrological software which is very accurate for the next 10,000 years, in fact. So calculation is done. We don't need to do hand calculations anymore, right? So Lagna being your first house, second house is what we need to look at. You need to have a very strong second house from your Lagna. What is the second house? It's your Vakustanam, or your speech. It doesn't just represent speech, it represents other things as well, like family life is house number 2. Wealth, or the ability to create wealth, is house number 2, right? So Vakustanam, even speech, your ability to speak is here. And not just your ability to speak. This is an important trait for astrologers, because what you say has to happen. You are actually speaking to your client. Yes, you have done your analysis with the mathematical side of things. That's good. You have calculated degrees, minutes, seconds. Now you are going to speak, and you're going to issue a warning, or you're going to give some good tidings or good news to your client. But what if that doesn't happen? Your second house is what needs to be strong. It needs to be in a very, very, not just balanced, it has to be way above average, way above the balance point. For example, I've given one example, like Jupiter is here, right? So, like I said, all planets look 7 houses away. So, let's calculate from where Jupiter is placed: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, Jupiter is looking directly at second house and increasing the positive energy here. Why? Because Jupiter is a natural benefic. Naturally, he is a very nice planet. His only want for you or for everyone is to enjoy life, to experience life to the full, to not have a difficult, challenging life. You need to have a good Jupiter. Again, that depends on what is your Lagna, who is your Lagna Lord. I'm just jumping ahead here again. This is Tulam. And if Tulam is your Lagna or your first house, Tulam, the natural owner is Sukran or Venus. Also, like I said, these two are owned by Venus. Jupiter is in Venus's house. Jupiter and Venus cannot get along. They are enemies. So Jupiter doesn't like to be here, but he's looking at house number 2. The point is, Jupiter will always do what he wants, in the sense that he wants you to be happy. He wants you to experience positive things. So wherever Jupiter's drishti is, in this case, house number 7 is looking at, 7 houses away is looking at house number 2. He is increasing the strength of your Vakustanam, your speech, your calculations will be accurate. Your astrological forecast predictions will be very strong, will be quite accurate, quite consistent. Some clients would come back to me after 3 years, just to test me. They will ask me the same question that they asked me 3 years ago. And because I use the rational numbers form of forecasting, so my analysis will always be the same, as I've mentioned. So my Vakustanam has to be good, right, in order to be an astrologer. So you need 2 things. Jumping back again, you need a good Mercury in your chart. Mercury has to be in the Kendra, Sandra Kendra Sthanam, Sandran Kendra Sthanam, which is from the Sandram or from the moon. It has to be a square. Can be any way, including like this. If moon shifts to this, your Rasi starts here, then you calculate 4 houses. Mercury must be here, or it could be here, or it could be here. Doesn't matter. It's just 1, 4, 7, 10 is for the square, the Kendra. And that not just Mercury and the moon placement, you need a second house which is extremely strong. And then with years and years of practice and learning and refining your craft as an astrologer, you would be well underway to be a very famed and renowned astrologer. Again, your Vakustanam, or again in Tamil we say Vaku vandu Palikanam. It has to come true, whatever that you say. So second house is the house for that. Again, you have all the other planets which can also influence this. So you have to balance everything out, and you see whether the good outweighs the bad, and then we do a judgment about whether you can be an astrologer. And then I pick my students who are able to follow the training pathway that I actually give. But again, there is no straightforward, easy thing. Um, as in any craft, like I said, this is a skill that has to come from the divine hand. You need to do many things to learn astrology. Like I said, one thing is you must be willing to commit years to it. Look at many charts. I think I myself would have seen about 1,000+ charts. I know some astrologers have seen about close to 20,000 charts in their lives, different people's charts. I've even heard rumors that the ones, the renowned sages of old, they have seen close to 200,000 charts. So the more charts you see, the better of an astrologer you'll become, right? And not just that, you have to have a bit of a divine pool as well. You need to be, you know, the meditative kind. You need to contemplate on the spiritual world, on the mystical world, or the jnana sastra, right? If you have a very strong Ketu, Ketu is one of the illusionary planets. Ketu signifies jnana sastra. There are some positions where Ketu loves to be in, for example, this one. And if Ketu is in this house, and it also happens to be your second house, which is your Vakusthanam, imagine Ketu is here being sighted by Jupiter like this, you are indeed an astrologer, right? And not just astrological studies. Whatever you say, you can have a hunch of things. You have a very good gut feeling, and people will listen to you, right? So these are just a few of the traits